That last episode, 136, was kind of a mind-bending episode, right? I received a bunch of messages about how I don't know what to eat now. Let me read you one of them. Maybe you can relate. This person messaged me the day the episode came out. She said, I did, however, listen to your podcast today, and I was kind of disgruntled afterwards, and I wanted your take on the call with Sally. I feel like I can't eat anything now, and I'm lost after listening to what she said, quite honestly. She's not alone. Other people messaged too. And I wonder, what are your thoughts? Now, I have had a little bit more time to wrap my head around these oxalates than you have, at least if last week was your introduction to it. And I debated talking about this on the podcast. In fact, I debated reading the book that Sally wrote because part of my brain was thinking, I don't want to know. If I don't want to know, then I have blissful ignorance and I don't have to change my diet. I have already upended parts of my life to support my body and my body's fight against Hashimoto's. I have already changed so much stuff and I don't want to change something else. So I don't even want to know about oxalates. I absolutely don't want to go through this again. And this being upending my diet. Maybe you feel the same way. Somebody messaged me and said, do I even want to listen to the episode? Blissful ignorance, or ignorance is bliss, is what she said. I understand. I really do. And then while I was thinking those thoughts, I was also thinking, okay, if there's something out there that can help me, and can help everybody who listens to my podcast, then I really have a responsibility to myself and to my listeners to explore this because maybe it will help. And so I did pursue it. I bought the book, I bought the audiobook, and I reached out to Sally's team to schedule an interview. And I'm so glad I did. I'm not saying that this has been easy, but I think really good things can come from it. So welcome to episode 137 of the Health with Hashimoto's podcast. My name is Esther. I'm a registered nurse. And when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, I was completely overwhelmed. I looked online. I've gone through nursing school and then I went back to school for holistic health. So I'd had a lot of information about thyroid and about autoimmune stuff. But at the time when I got my diagnosis, I had no idea what to do next. No idea. And so I went searching for answers. And out of that search for answers, I created my holistic Hashimoto's program for you because I don't want you to have to struggle through sifting through all of the answers and figuring out, okay, this person and this person, they're both saying the exact opposite things. What applies to me? That's confusing. And I don't want you to have to go through that because who wants to be overwhelmed and confused while you feel miserable? No. Oh, we just want to feel like ourselves again, and we want to do it simply and easily, and we want results quickly. Now, it took a long time to get to where we are. We understand that, and we're not going to get an overnight fix, but we can start making progress, right? And that's what I want for you. That's what I wanted for myself. It took a while to get there, and I'm still working on things, and that is where this last episode came in. It was about a month ago that I heard an interview with Sally Norton on a different podcast, and I was intrigued. And quite honestly, I wasn't sure if I wanted to even listen to that podcast because I try to avoid things that are very rigid, like black and white, because I understand that every person is an individual. And in a very few of my podcast episodes will I say, this is going to work for everybody across the board. Now, there are a couple things that I will talk about that, like Protandim, NRF2, the synergizer, the activator, to activate your body's pathway, that NRF2 pathway. Well, we know from the research that it works in 100% of mammals. So I can tell you that that is going to work for you if you're looking for something to help your body clean up, to help your body create more antioxidants, to help lower oxidative stress, to work as a nutrigenomic, like nutrition, working on your genetics. Like that is something I can tell you it will work because research says it works in 100% of mammals. I can't tell you what the results are going to be because everybody's journey is a little bit different. How oxidative stress, that's kind of like rusting of the cells or the browning of a banana, how that works in my body is different than how it works in your body. Like for one person, That oxidative stress might attack the joints more, and they're going to have more arthritic symptoms. For somebody else, that oxidative stress might attack the brain a little bit more, and then they're going to have more brain fog, or maybe they're going to have some more Alzheimer's, things like that. There's oxidative stress that can happen on any cell in our body, and you have trillions of cells. So I can't tell you how it's going to feel or how it's going to appear in your body, but I can say across the board that protein NRF2 is going to help your oxidative stress. Research says it lowers oxidative stress by an average of 40% in 30 days, which is pretty phenomenal. So that I can say it works across the board. But for most things, we don't talk about across the board black and white because you are an individual. So when I saw this book, it's called Toxic Superfoods, and I saw the interview, I was like, this seems like a really black and white approach. Do I want to investigate this? But at the same time, I kind of have a responsibility to investigate it. If it's going to help me, if it's going to help my podcast listeners, let's see what it says. And then poof, my mind was blown. How about you? When you listened to episode 136, did you feel hope? Did you feel like even though you've been doing all of the things, something still seems to be just out of reach? And maybe oxalates is that thing that's been missing from your puzzle. It's like my kids and my husband love to do puzzles. They had several puzzles underneath the Christmas tree and they're still working through them. I don't do puzzles, but it's like 2,000-piece puzzles. They're huge. And they were almost ready to finish one the other day, and they were missing a puzzle piece. It was all done except for, I think, three puzzle pieces, and they had two of them. And like people had claimed, like, I get to put that one in. But the third one was missing, and they looked all over. It ended up to be underneath the puzzle table. It blended into the carpet. But they were looking for a couple days for that piece. That's just a puzzle. For your health, you don't want to be looking for days, much less weeks or months or years. People look for answers for Hashimoto's for years. Maybe they know that their thyroid isn't producing enough thyroid hormone. They don't know why. They don't know that their thyroid is under attack from their immune system. And once you do finally get that diagnosis, you find out, oh, this is the name for what's going on, then you still don't know why. Why is my thyroid under attack? Now, in the Hashimoto's Decoded Root Causes mini course, I take you through all of the most common root causes of Hashimoto's so that you can say, oh, this is what's going on. This is my history. And so this is what I need to do. I try to make it so simple for you. And in the full program, the Holistic Hashimoto's program, then I'll take you by the hand and lead you through exactly what to do. Because again, I don't want you overwhelmed. I don't want you struggling to figure out what to do. I want to make it so easy for you so that you can find answers so that you can feel like yourself again. So where do oxalates come into this? Well, like Sally Norton explained last week, oxalates are little tiny like toothpicks or cactus spines in some of our foods. And the oxalic acid, did I say that right? I think so. It combines with calcium in our body and it makes these little crystals, and in our kidneys, they're kidney stones, but we can also have them build up in our thyroid. And then our body is trying to clean it up. It goes to that site, and then we have some inflammation. We have inflammation in our gut because the oxalic acid and the oxalates can hurt the gut lining. And then we have, an attack on our thyroid because our immune system is trying to clean it up. When I heard this, I'm like, that's super interesting. And I don't know if I'm ready to hear more. But I continued reading and I continued listening to the podcast. And I discovered that the foods that are highest in oxalates are foods that I eat all the time. Because when I went into nursing school, 4 years, right out of high school, went to college, I had one nutrition course, and basically was you can get whatever you need from your food and eat the food pyramid. I think it was still the food pyramid when I went to college. It might have been the healthy plate. Either way, it was the standard, government propaganda, which we all know is pretty false. If you eat the food pyramid, if you eat the healthy plate, you're going to be putting an emphasis on too many processed things. So, that's a whole nother conversation. But that was the message I had in nursing school. When I went back to school for holistic health, the main message was get enough protein and eat living foods. That is what I heard over and over and over. Eat living foods, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. It wasn't animal products necessarily. They didn't vilify them, but they also did not encourage animal products. They called it living foods, and they said it was fruits, veggies, nuts, and seeds. So what do you think I've been doing for 10 years since I went back for my certificate in holistic health? Well, of course, I've been focusing on eating living foods. If I'm going to have a snack, I always try to make sure it has a protein in it. And if I'm going to have a snack and have a protein, what am I going to use for that protein? I'm going to use almonds. I'm going to use cashews. I'm going to use chia seeds. I'm going to use the nuts and seeds and beans that I have been told are super healthy. But guess what? They're high in oxalates. So the highest thing of anything is spinach. Spinach is super, super high in oxalates. Raw spinach, boiled spinach, doesn't matter, super high. Some people say that boiling spinach actually reduces the oxalates. From what I can find, it doesn't. That might come from one source, but either way, like raw spinach, 1 cup of raw spinach, that's not a ton. It's 3,000 milligrams of oxalates in 1 cup of raw spinach. So even if boiling it reduces the oxalates a little bit, you're still going to have way, way, way more than the 200 milligrams that your body can handle in a day. So spinach is the highest, but let's go look at the nuts and seeds. Yep, they're high. Guess what's the second highest? Almonds. On my list. Now, I downloaded a list from Harvard. Sally did say in the interview, as she showed us, if you watched the video, she's got a flip chart. Now, I bought my book on Amazon and I did not see the flip chart in Amazon. And so I just wanted to get the numbers. So I downloaded this one from the Harvard study. I did have to search around for it, but I'll try to put the link in the show notes. I separated it out. It's a Excel spreadsheet, and I separated out by proteins, veggies, fruits, beverages, because I wanted to be able to look at a glance. Okay, if I'm having, cereals, which I don't eat cereal, what's high, what's low? If I'm going to have protein, what's high, what's low? Almonds are the highest, and then cashews are also super high. What's not low or what's not high? So what's low? Coconut. Coconut is very low. Flaxseed, thankfully, is also very low. Sunflower seeds are pretty low. So, I have switched over this last week from having peanuts and almonds in my granola and mixed into my yogurt and mixed into my whatever, my snacks. I've switched to sunflower seeds. I don't have flaxseed yet. Next time we go grocery shopping, I need to get some of that. Animal products, beef, chicken, fish. What else is there? Dairy, eggs, all of those are super low or zero. So that is good to know. But most of my day, all of my meals had high oxalates. So you heard me say in the interview that every morning for my breakfast, I added 2 tablespoons of chia seeds because I have heard so many times that chia seeds are healthy, and they are a really good source of healthy fiber and healthy fat and protein. So you think of it as the perfect food, right? Well, they're also super high in oxalates. I think Sally said they were 300 milligrams in a tablespoon, and I was having 2 tablespoons. I was also putting cacao powder into my morning smoothie because, again, I have heard that the flavonoids are really good for you. I did not realize that a lot of the things that are high in flavonoids or colorful parts of food, they're also high in oxalates. So chocolate and cacao powder and all of that is high. Hummus, a lot of my snacks, I pair a vegetable with a protein. And what's my favorite protein to pair with? Hummus. What's my second favorite protein to pair a fruit or veggie with? Peanut butter. And when I make my peanut butter, because I make my peanut butter, it's just peanuts and salt, right? So throw that into a food processor, whir it up, and in 6 minutes, you have peanut butter. Well, to make a better consistency and to make it what I thought was healthier, I add almonds. And my ratio is about 1/4 to 1/3 almonds to the rest peanuts. And it's so good. And I've been eating that for years because I love some peanut butter, peanut almond butter. Well, almonds are super high and peanuts are also high. As far as beverages, you're pretty good as long as, you're having just water. Oh, you know what? She did say tea. I do have tea. I don't know about you. I like some tea. I like some kombucha. Lemonade is also high. And then all candy that has chocolate is high in oxalates. So what I'm really telling you is my brain was blown, and not in an I'm happy way, in a this is going to upend my days way. I was not happy. And I think I read it to you at the beginning, but one of my friends messaged me and she said, I listened to your podcast and I was kind of disgruntled after. I feel like I can't eat anything now. I'm lost after listening to what she said. Somebody else said, I thought I was alone in my feelings. I mean, yes, it's good to know there's an explanation to why my symptoms aren't always great. But also, yes, what do I eat now? I look forward to next week's episode when I, Esther, am processing this information. And then there was another message. She said, I ate a spinach salad every evening and I didn't skimp on nuts. So I wasn't doing my body any favors. Being aware of oxalates in different foods will help me moderate it more. And then she also Colleen mentioned that Sally does say, don't stop cold turkey because then you could have some oxalate dumping. Now, there is good news. I also heard from another friend who saw my story about the book, and she said that she read the book a couple years ago and it changed her life. It was so encouraging to hear that. She said she used to be a vegetarian and she reduced her oxalates significantly. She did it too fast, is what she said. She had some oxalate dumping, but she said so many of her symptoms have gone away. Also, she was struggling to lose 35 pounds. She said they were just stubborn, even being vegetarian, eating super healthy. When she went off of oxalates and she started focusing on animal products, she lost those 35 pounds. They just melted off. She wasn't even trying. They just disappeared. And she feels so much better. And I hope that is encouraging to you. It was very encouraging to me. So I have had some time to process this. And, it was kind of easy to take the chia seeds and the cacao out of my morning smoothie. Although I will tell you that my bowel movements, I was a little bit more constipated because all of a sudden I had reduced my fiber by a significant amount. So I had to regulate that. Once I get some flaxseed, I'll get that back up. I have regulated again. My body just had to figure out that this was a different new normal. And then I had to figure out some snacks. So now my go-to is yogurt. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm health.with.hashimoto's. I showed in my stories that I was making granola again for the first time in a long time because a lot of pre-made granolas have almonds or peanuts or cinnamon. And cinnamon is also high oxalate. I'm not really going to worry about that one. It's a spice. But, I don't have to put it in mine. So there's a lot of simple things that we can do. And I think the main thing that I had to do, and I don't know about you, but what I had to do is I had to switch thinking to these are the foods I can eat. Instead of looking at all of the oxalate foods and thinking, okay, I can't eat this and I can't eat this and I can't eat this, that was overwhelming me. It was stressing me out. I went through a couple of days where I know I did not eat enough food in general because I was so stressed out about, well, what can I eat now? Because all I could think about was the foods that I couldn't eat. But I printed out that list from Harvard and I focused on the low stuff. I focused on what I can eat. You can eat animal products, chicken, meat, fish. I've been doing a lot of ground beef, and then I'll just keep it in the fridge. And for my lunches, instead of peanut butter and jelly, which I love, I'll throw some ground beef in a pan that I already browned up. And then I'll top it with a couple eggs and some cheese. And then, if you eat gluten-free bread, you can have that. I've been having it maybe with a couple of crackers that I don't know if it's low oxalate, but I figure the rest of the meal is low oxalate because it's animal products, so it's zero. So for me, I'm focusing on what can I get in that is good instead of focusing on all the bad. I don't know if that will help you. I hope it helps you because with Hashimoto's, We already have to deal with so much that we're figuring out what's going to work for us. We're taking gluten out of our diet, maybe. We're making all of these changes. And to hear one more thing that we need to change, it can be demoralizing. So I encourage you to look at the foods that you can eat. Fruits, they're good. Vegetables, just not, spinach. There are a couple other high veggies. Like I said, potatoes, like baked potatoes, which means all of the potato products, French fries, hash browns, all of those. But what is good? Mushrooms, onions, lima beans. Why are those a vegetable, not a bean? I'm not sure, but they're in the vegetable category. Lima beans, radishes, water chestnuts, arugula, garlic, regular lettuce, which is romaine lettuce, iceberg lettuce, cauliflower, peas, squash, kale, seaweed, corn, parsley, cucumber, pickles, cabbage, peppers. I remember reading in the book that green peppers are higher in oxalate, so red and yellow are okay. And I do see that on this list. And Sally said that there's some lists that differ. So her list did differ from the Harvard list. So fruits, pretty much they're all good. I'm not going to read them off because it's 35 lines of good fruits. The highest one was rhubarb, and I do love rhubarb. We have a couple plants out in the garden, so I probably won't make a lot of rhubarb crisp this year, which is fine because rhubarb crisp, while delicious, is pretty high in sugar. Blueberries are also pretty high, but everything else is good. Apples, watermelons, papayas, cranberries, nectarines, pomegranates, mangoes, apricots, plums, limes, strawberries, cantaloupe, cherries, pears, raisins, raspberries. These are all good. So this list from Harvard says raspberries are good. I was watching a TikTok from somebody else, an expert, and he said raspberries are high. If I just followed the list from Harvard, I will not confuse myself. It sounds like there is some argument among the oxalate community. This one says raspberries are low. So does this perspective help you? Or are you still feeling overwhelmed? Come over to the school community and let's talk through it, because I never want to burden you with any more overwhelm or any more restriction. I want to help you focus on things that help you heal. And for me, oxalates is something that I've been eating a lot of over the past decade. And so I do need to see what it's going to do for my body to reduce my oxalate load. How about you? Have you been eating a lot of oxalates? What could be different once you remove those from your diet, or at least lower them significantly? I'm excited to see what happens in my body because I know that there are still some missing puzzle pieces, and I think oxalates could be a huge missing puzzle piece. Come over to the school community and let's talk about it. I would love to hear your story, and I'd love to hear, what are you going to eat now? This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Please discuss any concerns and plans with your trusted healthcare professional. If you found this episode helpful, will you please share it with a friend? I'll see you next week on the Health with Hashimoto's podcast.